Another batch of leaked Pentagon documents suggests that the US may have spied on the head of the United Nations.
US President Joe Biden is in Dublin after visiting Northern Ireland for the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement.
The US has announced sanctions for 3 executives in Hungary on Wednesday due to its support for the Russian-funded International Investment Bank.
Japan is reeling after North Korea launched an intercontinental missile towards Hokkaido Island. Tokyo says the move is a threat to peace and security. In Champions League action, Real Madrid beat Chelsea 2-0 while AC Milan secured a 1-0 victory over Napoli at San Siro.
The latest leaked revelations, which have sent US officials at the Pentagon into damage control mode, involve the United Nations Secretary General. They suggest that the White House believes Antonio Guterres is too willing to accommodate Russian interests. The leaked document focuses on the Black Sea grain deal brokered by the UN and Turkey in July amid fears of a global food crisis. It suggests that Guterres was willing to promote Russia's ability to export despite involving sanctioned individuals, as long as Ukraine could get its grain out to the world. Much of the leaked information in the last few days has concerned the Ukraine war. The classified documents range from briefing slides mapping out Ukrainian military positions to international support for the country. It's feared the leaks could affect Ukraine's plan for a counter-offensive.
Я сподіваюся, що наші американські колеги зрозуміють, побачать ті помилки, які були допущені при цьому. З точки зору того, що там було викладено, ну знову ж це ж не все, це те, що нам, на жаль, дає медіа побачити. Є окремі моменти, але з точки зору демотивації нічого не змінюється. Все залишилось, як і є, і нам потрібно відвоювати нашу землю.
Я вірю в Джо Байдену цілковито. Я знаю, що це людина надзвичайно досвідчена і дуже любить Україну. І я впевнена, що все буде ще краще.
The Pentagon has begun its own internal investigation into the source of the leak, but is playing down concerns it could erode US allies' trust in sharing information in the future.
The rain welcomed Joe Biden to Dublin for a presidential trip full of nostalgia. Upon landing, the U.S. president visited Hangar, where he was greeted by U.S. embassy officials and their families, many with young children. After having a brief conversation with them, the U.S. president headed for Collingford Castle.
Question their judgment, whether they're right or wrong.
Biden is using the official visit to also soak up the history of his ancestors. 10 of his 16 great-great-grandparents were from Ireland, before moving to the United States during the Great Famine of the 19th century. The visit will conclude on Friday. Before arriving in Dublin, Biden visited Northern Ireland for the 25th anniversary of the signing of the Good Friday Agreement, which put an end to decades of conflict that killed more than 3,000 people. But recent political turmoil has left Northern Ireland without a functioning government, rattling the foundations of the U.S. brokered deal.
Thank you so much. We're moving.
3 executives of the Russian-funded Budapest-based International Investment Bank have been placed on the US sanctions list. The announcement was made this Wednesday. 2 Russian citizens and the former Hungarian ambassador to Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan have also been added to the list.
Since this Russia-controlled entity moved from Moscow to Budapest in 2019, the United States has engaged the Hungarian government on numerous occasions to register our concern about the risks its presence in Hungary poses for the NATO alliance. With this announcement, the United States is demonstrating that we will take action in response to Hungary's choices and to curb the access of Russia and sanctioned Russian persons to the international financial system.
According to the US, the International Investment Bank is a front for Russian intelligence services. The bank's other European owners, such as Slovakia, Romania and Bulgaria, have withdrawn from the project, leaving Hungary as the last European stakeholder. The latest tension in Washington-Hungarian relations stems from the US Embassy's financial support for a poster campaign drawing parallels between the '56 Hungarian Revolution, which was suppressed by the Soviet Union, and the Ukrainian war. The Hungarian government is demanding an immediate ceasefire and peace talks, meaning Ukraine would have to cede territory to its aggressor.
Sirens over Japan's northern Hokkaido island. Officials issued an evacuation order on Thursday after an apparent North Korean ballistic missile heading in the island's direction landed in the Pacific Ocean. While the order was lifted later on Thursday, Japan's cabinet secretary has condemned the launch.
今回の発射行動は国際社会全体への挑発をエスカレートさせる暴挙であり、これまでの弾道ミサイル等の度重なる発射も含め、一連の北朝鮮の行動は我が国、地域及び国際社会の平和と安全を脅かすものであり、断じて容認できません。
Meanwhile, some residents in nearby South Korea say they were angered by the news but not surprised.
국제사회에서 용납하면 안 되죠. 그거는 지금보다 더 가혹하게 제재를 해야 되겠죠. 지금 이거보다
지지해주거나 응원해주고 싶은 건 아닌데 약간 그것마저 포기하면 북한이 살 길이 힘들어지니까 그렇게 붙잡고 있는 거라고 생각을 하거든요. 그래가지고.
The launch is the latest in a string of banned weapons tests by Pyongyang and one of several this year.
China is keeping up the pressure on Taiwan despite the formal conclusion of its recent military drills. On Wednesday, Taipei tracked 35 flights by Chinese warplanes within the previous 24 hours, as well as 8 Navy vessels in the waters surrounding the self-ruled island. Regional tensions haven't been helped by the US and Philippines holding their own largest ever joint military drills, which China has called a provocation. EU powerhouse Germany has pitched in with calls for calm, clearly blaming Beijing for the inflamed situation.
Rolle spielen. Wir sind sehr besorgt über die Lage in der Straße von Taiwan. Von allen Beteiligten in der Region erwarten wir natürlich, dass sie zu Stabilität und Frieden beitragen. Das gilt ebenso für die Volksrepublik China.
However, French President Emmanuel Macron said on a visit to the Netherlands that he will not join in a verbal escalation of the Taiwan situation.
La France est pour le statu quo à Taïwan. La France soutient la politique d'une seule Chine et la recherche d'un règlement pacifique de la situation. C'est d'ailleurs la position des Européens. Et c'est une position qui, de tout temps, a été compatible avec le rôle d'allié. Mais c'est justement là que j'insiste sur l'importance de l'autonomie stratégique. Être allié ne signifie pas être vassal. Ce n'est pas parce qu'on est allié, qu'on fait des choses ensemble, qu'on décide de faire, qu'on n'a plus le droit de penser tout seul.
China claims Taiwan as its own territory and has a policy of one day bringing the democratic island under its control.
The European path advocated by the French president regarding Taiwan raised controversy. Emmanuel Macron calls on the Union not to show followership towards the United States or China on this issue. For some, these remarks made after his trip to Beijing are dangerous because they could crack European unity and transatlantic solidarity when it comes to Beijing. However, not all observers denounce the strategic autonomy defended by Paris.
President Macron has, for several years now, repeatedly emphasized his view that Europe should develop what he calls strategic autonomy. And I think depending on what you want to see in that concept, different people see different things. For my own part, I don't see that as a threat to to transatlantic unity at all. I think that there's plenty of people in the United States who would support the idea that Europe should do more to be a strategic actor in its own right, and Europe stepping up to do more, especially in light of the threats, both proximate and global in today's era, would be a good thing.
Dan Baer also points out that certain elements of the analysis presented by the Commission President resonate in Washington. For example, Ursula von der Leyen spoke of the need to preserve the status quo in the Taiwan Strait. However, just after the visit of the European leaders, Beijing conducted a military exercise to encircle the island. In this context, the idea of a European third way seems very difficult because the security of the Union depends on the United States.
We should follow the US as far as in our interests, but it's obvious that our values and our interests are not the same of the US, but are closer to the US than to China. So I don't think that we should just blindly follow the US, but talking about neutrality or equidistance here, I think is not very realistic because neither our values or our interests are equidistant from Washington and Beijing.
For the EU, the priority remains to keep the channels open with Beijing. The head of European diplomacy was supposed to go to China this week, but his trip has been cancelled due to COVID-19.
Real Madrid has secured a 2-0 win over Chelsea in the first leg of the Champions League quarter-finals. French veteran Karim Benzema netted the first goal, his 6th in 5 matches against the English side. Marco Asensio delivered the second goal for Los Blancos in the 74th minute. Moving to San Siro, AC Milan beat Napoli for the second time in the space of 2 weeks. While Luciano Spalletti's men dominated much of the first half, it was Ismael Benacer who led Real Madrid to a 1-0 victory in the 40th minute. The Rossoneri will play Napoli again on Tuesday as Real Madrid meet Chelsea for the second leg at Stamford Bridge.